Tonight on Reporting Scotland, Scottish exports are growing, but where we're sending them is fueling the political debate on both Brexit and independence. Good evening. Scottish exports are up across the board in the UK, to the EU and other international markets. The Scottish Government figures show that sales from Scotland to the rest of the UK are 4 times as big as those to the EU. But ministers here claim that this could all change after Brexit and that it's vital Scotland stays in the single European market. Here's our business and economy editor, Douglas Fraser.
Let 1,000 turbines bloom. This factory has just hit 4-figure sales of its farm-scale wind generator 6 years after its owner relocated the business from Holland to Glasgow. Trade winds bring orders from around the world. Most turbines used to go to UK customers, but with subsidy cuts in Britain, now most custom is foreign.
There's a lot of unclarity in Britain, in Europe, but also, I mean, we sell turbines in the US. If the US is building walls around it, then export to the US will get more difficult. So there is a lot of unclarity, but at times when a lot of things change, there's also always a lot of new opportunities.
The increase in wind power is one of the reasons why Scotland is selling more beyond its borders. The total increase in sales in 2015 was around about 4%. Now, of that, £50 billion was sold to the rest of the United Kingdom. Sold beyond there, the rest of the world, £29 billion. And within that, about £12 billion was sold to the rest of the European Union. Viewed from Holyrood, ministers say these export figures prove Scots must maintain free access to European markets.
We of course appreciate the extent to which our nearest neighbour, the rest of the UK, is extremely important, but that doesn't mean to say we should not also have an eye on the huge additional potential that we can have for Scotland's economy from the rest of the EU, and the worst thing to do would be to jeopardise that by the hard Brexit now being proposed by the Tory government.
Viewed from Westminster, ministers say Scottish business and jobs are much more reliant on British markets.
4 times as many exports go to the rest of the United Kingdom than go to the EU. Of course the EU is important, but let's focus on our partners and friends in the rest of the UK, because that's where the really significant impact from our economy is coming, and we shouldn't be doing anything at all to prejudice that.
Most sales to the rest of Britain are services rather than goods, but the biggest single element in these export figures is whisky. Today publishing research showing it's the biggest net contributor to Britain's trade position. And the biggest national export market for Scotch and much more besides remains the United States.
We will be looking for a UK-US trade deal that improves trade between our two countries.
All the more important there's a good trade deal when Theresa May visits the White House on Friday and talks trade with President Donald Trump, not a man with a liking for Scottish wind turbines.
Well, Douglas joins me now. Douglas, these annual figures wouldn't normally lead our programme, but in the wake of what's been happening politically, they do, and they are especially significant.
Yes, and remember, these precede the Brexit vote. There's been a bit of an economic slowdown since then. They don't tell us anything about imports, and there's a warning to be cautious about the figures for the sales to the rest of the UK. But all of that said, they give us some indication of where Scotland's economic trading interests lie, though of course that can change. And indeed, Britain is removing the key pillar for the past 40 years of its trading relationship with a promise that there will be new pillars put in place. But underlying this debate in Scotland is the question of how the independence movement builds the economic case if there's to be a move to another Scottish independence referendum. We're told that's becoming more likely because of the working out of the politics of Brexit. One of the things that the SNP and others in the movement will want to explain if there's to be another referendum campaign is how Scotland's trading relationships might work if Scotland were in Europe and outside the UK. And because there's so much uncertainty about Britain's trading relationships, then it looks like a choice of 2 very uncertain trading futures. These figures give us some help, if only in locating the starting point for that choice.
Douglas, thank you.